This is the way. I mean, this is the Star Wars Reporter podcast, the official podcast of the StarWarsReporter.com. Welcome to episode 38.
I couldn't get my helmet on. I'm so sorry. I know. I tried so hard. I couldn't get it on.
I couldn't hear it all. I didn't know if you were talking to me or what.
Well, here with the band of scoundrels from the site. And tonight we're going to talk about all things The Mandalorian. That's our topic. We missed Chapter 11, and we're going to get into that in Chapter 12 today. And I just want to show off my very first Black Series purchase of a helmet. And man, I'm telling you, I had a lot of attitude when I was wearing this thing. I couldn't breathe. And at a certain point, the moisture I couldn't see, but I felt like I was pretty powerful, like it was Beskar for real.
Well, at least you're masking. At least you're masking up, right? That's an important thing right now. It's wearing a mask.
Masking up.
So, yeah.
I'm masking up, and I thought it'd be nice too to wear the helmet so you couldn't actually see my face. You know, that came from my wife, so it's kind of making me wonder.
Well, you know,
what she meant by that.
I think she's only trying to improve the quality of your show, right? So she wants everything to look as good as it possibly can. So I'm sure she's trying to be helpful.
This is perfect. Okay.
I think the Star Wars theme. So why is the helmet so white? It's very, very white.
It's
a prototype. It's prototype fat.
There you go.
Yes. So, and hey, speaking of, let's say hello to everyone that's on tonight. It's kind of a small crew tonight, but we have Kylo Jen.
Hello.
And we have Trooper Todd.
Hello.
And we have me, the guy with the beard. So welcome, guys. I've kind of felt like I was just losing my voice there. I was telling Jen before we went live that I've been sick since Thursday, and this is like the first ray of sunshine since Thursday, where I wasn't hacking up a lung, and my daughters still tell me that I look like I'm high. But
they're so helpful, aren't they?
I was explaining to Jen that in Canada our neocitrin does have codeine in it, so
you guys have that good Canadian drugs.
Over the counter stuff, man. It's like I get like a 10-pack of these for $6. I could go down there and sell it in little baggies, I guess.
Y'all stuff up. This will fix it real good.
Yep.
So anyways, let's get into it. I know that since last week, Jen has been dying to talk one thing, and we kind of pushed Chapter 11 to the side because I thought, geez, the topic of where we're showing off our toys and merchandise, I thought, I'll save that for a time when it's like not a great episode in The Mandalorian, but that just never seemed to come. So I thought, I'm just slipping it in there, and we could talk about Chapter 11 and another day, and I felt kind of bad about it, but so
it's okay, Steve. It's okay.
I know. I want to do it all, but it still was fun last week. You guys haven't seen what we did in episode 37. We kind of showed off our toys and gear and other stuff like that. So nostalgia. But anyways, let's just get into it. And Chapter 11. Jen, I'll start with you because I know you're excited to talk about. Really, I mean, the main part of that whole episode was the reveal of Bo Katan and Katie Sackhoff, right?
Yeah, no, that episode 100% was made for like my Clone Wars fangirl heart. Like everything about that episode was geared towards like me, really, like my type of person who loved Clone Wars, enthusiastically. And so it was just little things about that episode that, all sorts of callbacks and tie-ins and things. And like, I mean, Bo Katan, if you watch Clone Wars, was so cool. She had such a neat story. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but she was in Death Watch, which ended up getting labeled like a terrorist group and exiled. And so she wanted what was best for Mandalore, what she thought was best for Mandalore, but her sister was kind of the ruler of Mandalore and wanted to be neutral. That was the big thing. So it's actually a really cool couple of episodes in story arc within Clone Wars, because this idea of neutrality, like while there's a war going on, when you have the Separatists and you have the Republic and you have, like you have these two battling entities and you want to remain neutral. How does that actually work? Does it actually work? And, Bo Katan's sister, Satine, was convinced that it could work. And so through the years of Clone Wars and stuff, you see it work for a while, but it doesn't. It can't. It's not sustainable. And so, the war ends up coming there, kind of thing. And then, there's the purge and stuff, which you hear about in the Mandalorian and things like that. But Bo Katan, her story was woven in throughout all of these episodes that took place on Mandalore, and it was just really cool. She was a really interesting character, from being exiled to coming back. And then if you watched the Clone Wars episodes that just came out a few months ago, the ones that were tacked on to the end,
right,
which were amazing. If you haven't seen, they were just, everything about those last couple of episodes had me in tears, happy tears, because it was wonderful. It was more Ahsoka. It was more of the things that I wanted to see. But there is Bo-Katan is also in those. She meets up with Ahsoka on Mandalore, where Ahsoka fights. Well, how much can I not spoil?
It's been a long time. Spoilers.
Okay. Where
if you haven't seen it, again, it's your fault, right?
All right.
I haven't seen it. But
spoiler. If you have not seen it, cover your ears right now. Where Ahsoka fights Maul, and it's amazing and it's awesome and it's really cool. But Bo-Katan is there for that as well. So that's she actually meets Ahsoka when Ahsoka's very young, early on in the series. But then that's kind of they fight for Mandalore together. And those last couple episodes that happen right before Order 66, those last couple episodes actually take you all the way up into that moment of when the order is executed, and then a little bit beyond from a different perspective. So it's just really beautiful. Her story, she's so cool. And here's the other thing. I was telling Steve about this before. I'm a huge Katie Sackhoff fan. I think she is just one of the coolest people. I'm a huge Battlestar Galactica fan. Loved her character on that. Love her athleticism and her, that kind of toughness that she brings. She's extremely tough, extremely great actress. But she also doesn't sacrifice femininity. She's still a woman, and she is still able to pull off these amazing characters. I think she's fantastic. So her voicing Bo-Katan in Clone Wars, and then seeing her face as Bo-Katan, I was screaming. I'm not a screamer, but I was standing on my couch. Yeah, that was
just right here.
That was, I couldn't even control it. And then just little things. She says something about, she says she knows a Jedi, and I was like, it's Ahsoka! And, when she finally says Ahsoka's name at the end of the episode, I was just like that, basically. I couldn't even contain my happiness, because everything about it was so awesome. The Mandalorian was great, Baby Yoda was great, but Katie Sackhoff was there as Bo-Katan, and she mentioned Ahsoka Tano, and that's all I wanted. That's everything I wanted in life.
Oh, well, she was clearly, basically what everyone was waiting for, I think,
right?
Oh,
absolutely.
Everything was pushed to the side when she was finally revealed, and then the helmet takeoff, right? You have to wonder, how are they going to do this, right? Going from animation to live. And, I've seen the comparisons of pictures side by side, and holy cow, did they ever
the
do a great
headbands,
job.
the hair, everything. I know they changed her armor, and some people were grumpy about it or whatever, but it looked great. It was whatever.
Yeah, there was controversy about the armor. One person complained about boob armor, and I'd watched a bunch of videos where there was these medieval scholars that talk about armor and shields and stuff in medieval times. And there was they have in museums, armor that was shaped completely like boob armor, but those were obviously ceremonial.
The fact that we have
and whatever.
to actually have that conversation, the fact that some archaeologist has to be like, Exhibit A.
That's what the one guy
boobs.
said.
But
he said in order for armor to work, right? Like, so if you're looking at the men's armor, it's not, it's kind of out a little bit to take impact. There needs to be room. So does women's armor. So you like the people complaining, did they want to have the women like crush their boobs under male armor? They needed the room to have space for the impact, and it'd be different impact. The one medieval guy pointed out, because it's blasters, it's not, like a sword or a mace or anything like that, right? So it's going to be different. And it's funny because he said what you just said. He's like, here I am making a video talking about boob armor because everyone has been emailing me about this episode.
Does anyone complain about Wonder Woman? Wonder Woman's armor is boob armor. Like,
I'll complain about Wonder Woman all the time. See the new trailer? Oh,
I love her too. She's another one I love.
Sorry.
But
oh, do you mean like the
anyway.
Yeah?
But anyway, what I'm saying is, like, I didn't see any problem with that. And I actually remember years ago, I might be wrong about this, and somebody might jump in the comments and be like, "You're so wrong." But I remember a couple years ago when I was looking for, like, there's the Mandalorian, the Mando Mercs or whatever is like the 501st branch of like the Mandalorians, and they've been around for forever. And I remember like their CRLs for their armor, and I think the women's armor, there was like 3 variations that you could do for the chest pieces, and like molded ones was acceptable. That was canon, and it's canonical, whatever that word.
It's canon.
Yeah, it's canon. But that's the thing. It's shown up before in other versions of the Star Wars universe. Like, it's not like this is new. It's not like some prop designer was like, how about we highlight Katie Sackhoff's boobies? Like, that's not what happened. Like, but I just, people get upset about stuff like that, and I don't understand it.
I think the people that are getting upset, if you look at the people getting upset, are not Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
So they really don't have any idea, and it's kind of a slow news day, I guess.
There's too much time on their hands. They're complaining about something like that.
to complain about.
And that it really impacts the story and how it works. Does it really, really matter so much? It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
So talking about episode 11, like, my take is totally different. How the story played out is totally different because I am not a Clone Wars enthusiast. Not that I don't like the show, is I'm not caught up on it. So I didn't know any of the characters beforehand. So for me, I'm seeing these characters pop up for the first time, and I didn't have that. I'm going, oh man, I wish I wasn't so lazy and caught up on the Clone Wars, so I can have that same feeling that you had, Jen. So obviously I missed out on that sort of thing, but overall, I still thought it was a very entertaining, enthusiastic episode, right? Like, to me, whenever there's stormtroopers, can that be a bad thing? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right. So
there was also some interesting things in there that some of the weapons that the stormtroopers had were not approved, like CRL. Like, I can carry like an E11 blaster in my suit and stuff like that, but there are different things like I wasn't allowed to carry because they never showed up in the movies carrying different blasters, but they did in the Mandalorian. So I'm gonna be making me some new blasters, I think.
Well, again,
some big ones.
Oh.
But the Empire has been kind of torn down now, so these guys are probably going rogue, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of rules are all off. All bets are off. I can have whatever blaster I want. I like this one today.
Yeah.
Right. Like, really, there's no law and order with them anymore. So I think this is every man for themselves. We'll explain why they're using whatever. But yeah, now you can complain.
I can be like, see, I can.
I'm post Return of the Jedi Stormtrooper, right?
It's canon.
Yeah, exact canon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Watching the episode 2, it goes to show you how skilled or dangerous a bunch of Mandalorians can be when they're together. Because there was only 4 Mandalorians, and see what they could do easily. It seems now. Could you imagine when they were conquering worlds? I mean, how easy they must have just, really their only competition were the Jedi, right?
She was a leader of a task force, Bo Katan specifically, real quick, called Night Watch, and they were specifically skilled at like neutralizing Jedi. Actually, Obi-Wan, when he comes to Mandalore, is the one who gets Death Watch exiled because he finally stops them, kind of thing. But they give him a run for his money. For there's what's his name? Previously has a dark saber and actually can fight Obi-Wan and keep up with him kind of thing. So
Right.
that the Mandalorians they could go toe to toe with Jedi. But
Well, that's
anyway,
right. I'd read about the history where when they first encountered the Jedi, thousands of years ago or 1,000 years ago, I meant the Jedi, beat them easily. So they kind of adjusted their style, like the armor and all the weapons they have were invented as a response to the Jedi, from what I understood, because I'm trying to learn all the different lore.
I don't know.
So everything was kind of made to fight the Jedi, to kind of make them even, with like they can't do force pull or push, but they have the lassos and the force jumps, so they have the jetpacks, and so everything was made to kind of fight against the only other force that could stop them, which were the Jedi at the time. But
so their big threat, basically, the big threat for them would be the Jedi. So they're trying to make stuff to combat against them.
Yeah, or at least that was
field.
At a certain point. That was the origin of some of their, from what I
that
understood.
makes sense. Yeah. I'm not familiar with that, but that would make a lot of sense.
It does actually.
So, have you been following anything with Katie Sackhoff on her Twitter account since the episode? Because I think she's overwhelmed with the positive, praise from fans and the media.
I follow her on
almost feel the
Instagram.
smile.
Yeah, and she seems to be really, it seems like it's good. I think we've come a long way since like the Kelly Tran days where everyone was like, I hate you, everything you do is awful, because people were just awful. Like, but like this is nice to see like a woman in the Star Wars universe that is being universally loved and having a great time and stuff, which is what it's all about. That's what it should be all about. But
right.
And there's a lot of pressure nowadays, especially in Hollywood sort of thing, when it comes to bringing characters to life sort of thing on the big screen or small screen now, right? Like, I know even when you look back at the Netflix versions of the Marvel series of Daredevil and the Punisher, like those actors were like pretty stressed out, because all the fan pressure that people put on, don't screw this up. Like the actor who's from The Walking Dead who played the Punisher in those series, I can't think of his name offhand. He was under a lot of pressure. Like I can't screw this up, because there'd be so many people so upset with me, right? So I think there's a lot of pressure for these actors, and they want to be well received. They want to do a good job because they don't want to be on the, social media nowadays. It's so easy to be haters, right? So, and if you're doing something injustice to something that's loved by millions of people, they'll let you know, right? So I'm sure that getting the praise for your rendition of the character would be very relieving to the actors, and hard not to make you feel good for sure.
Yeah,
like just the guy who played Han Solo in the Solo film, right? How everybody hated him. I don't understand why I don't understand why people hated him, because I thought he did a really good job. I know he's not Harrison Ford. He was fantastic. I thought that movie was way better than The Last Jedi, and I thought that movie was way better than Rise of Skywalker. Overall, but a lot of hate for that film. Don't understand why.
I thought it was a fun heist movie. Like, even if you just took the Star Wars stuff out of it, it was a fun heist movie, and I like that. I thought that was great. Like, but that's just me. I mean, I love the prequels, so I'm,
the thing here is I'm not a fan of the prequels. I like them, but not a huge fan of them. But still love the Solo film. Yeah. I know more people personally who love the Solo film, but I know a lot of the stuff you read online hate it.
Yeah, when the prequels came out in theaters, and I went to see them, I wasn't a fan. Like, I was a Star Wars fan, but I was like, I was 50-50 on it. But in recent times, I think I've said this before, I've become a much bigger fan, much. And I just think it kind of, the controversies or some decisions in, say, the sequels have made me re-examine my thoughts for some reason on the prequels. And I find myself, if I'm just kind of like, I need to relax or whatever, I'm in the mood for Star Wars something, to just going to a prequel, which I would have never done. It would be, this or that. And, first, second, or third, it didn't matter what episode. I actually watched episode 1 like Friday night. So it's really weird. And when I first started doing that, like my oldest daughter, my wife, at one point saying, Well, my oldest daughter looked at me like I was watching puppies being murdered. She's like, you're watching the prequels? Like, yeah, I'm trying to explain to her. And she's
The
like,
Duel of the Fates scene is excellent. It's excellent. The music is
that
excellent. Like that.
Music's
I mean,
awesome.
Obi-Wan's sassiness, like
I know.
Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon. Like there are excellent. Like even if you take all the silly things, like I've said this before, like I don't care about midichlorians. Like that was such a like to me, like people that like get so hung up on that, like it ruins everything. Like no, you're ruining everything for yourself by getting hung up on it. But
speaking of midichlorians, do you notice was it this episode or was it
they said M count? Yeah,
M count.
I did notice. Yeah.
I went, oh, M count. I know what that is. They didn't say the word, but it's high M count. It's like, oh.
Well, hey, why don't we jump into that? Why don't we jump in? Yeah. If we're done, let's jump into to chapter 12.
Okay.
The Siege, I believe it was called. And
so do we think that those are the Snoke clones, or which clones are they trying to infuse with midichlorians? Who's in the tanks?
I've seen a couple of videos where people were like, he's got the same scarring.
Is that lab where they?
Yeah, the lab
did some of those things.
I just assumed that whatever they're cloning is what those stormtroopers were at the end.
Oh, I thought it was like a branch of that, because the Emperor got brought back in his. Oh, is that another spoiler? I'm sure everyone by now has seen.
Well, again, if you haven't seen it, just Han Solo dies.
Yeah,
right. You've been warned.
Anyway,
you've got a few years to catch up on that. For them. Yeah, exactly.
But I assumed that that's what it was. It was they're alluding to that because obviously there was a lot of time and research that was spent on trying to get the Emperor into a body, and that Snoke was a failed clone, or whatever. Like those kind of things. Like I assumed that that's what they were talking about.
I keep hearing things where, and I haven't really noticed what people are talking about, but some people I've seen online are talking about the Mandalorian seems to be rewriting some of the sequel stuff as they go. So who knows about the Snoke thing, but it is interesting with those troopers at the end with the black outfits, and
they're dark troopers or something. I think they're called dark
troopers or death troopers. I don't think
not death troopers.
No, death
they weren't the death. They were dark troopers, and someone said shadow troopers, which is some other kind of.
This is a death trooper.
That's
okay.
Death trooper.
Right. Sorry.
So it'll be interesting. So the dark troopers are like force sensitive, use lightsabers. So if that's the case, that's going to really open up.
And they were just there like in a coma state. They weren't moving. They weren't animated. They weren't alive. So it looks like they're waiting to be activated. So that's why I assumed whether it was in the tanks was Again, it's a theory. I don't know what they're doing, but I thought maybe that's what it was. They were building these hybrid troopers that can combat. To make their big push for power. But I don't know. But this episode was probably one of my favorite episodes.
It was really fun.
Because, for one, you have scout troopers, you have speeder bikes, not just speeders, but you have the Empire speeder bikes. Yes. And when they're going down the mountainside,
I love that they collide with each other. That's so great. I was like, this is awesome. Oh, there it is.
When one fell in the rocks, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then after that, you had TIE fighters chasing them down. Like, come on. Cool. It was like, to me, it was building up. And then when it hit, it's like, holy crap, this is awesome.
Yeah. The scout troopers seemed to really know what they were doing. Like they weren't, when they were in the middle of that chase, the two scout troopers, they kind of split up and they were doing actual stuff instead of just chasing and shooting.
Yes.
And, in the end, it didn't work out for them, but at least they're showing the stormtroopers doing more than just getting blasted, like climbing up on it's a type of troop transport. I don't think, that they were escaping in, but yeah, you're right. When those TIE fighters, I was like, oh, wow, there's TIE fighters. I guess they're in a lot of trouble now.
I thought it was just the speeder bikes were the first thing, then the TIE fighter, like even though they even have the TIE fighter pilots and I just love they have, I don't know, just when, I don't want to say the fact that I just loved seeing these guys. There wasn't normal stormtroopers on the speeder bikes. They actually have scout troops. They actually have TIE fighter pilots on standby, waiting to go. It was just anytime I see all the collection of stormtroopers, I'm a big stormtrooper fan. I just love it. So I'll never get tired of seeing stormtroopers. Although even to the point where I think that they're missing out on a boat here. Why wouldn't they make, like, I know they did Clone Wars, so they told stuff from the clones' perspectives, right? Wouldn't it be great to have like a troopers show? I remember there's a spoof like years ago. Somebody made a spoof like off from Bad Boys, but they call it Troopers. I think they're missing a boat. Tell the stories from the perspective of stormtroopers in the battlefield. I think that'd be a great show.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. I did find a picture of that.
Oh, there they are.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
scene. So it's
hard to see
really
the mask, eh?
It looks really good, but that would be. I think that would be a good. It'd be hard to do. It'd be very expensive to. I mean, what do you think, Jen? Being in the 501st, could they make a series on maybe a more serious series?
Of course,
like
serious
Troopers. But, I find it would be so hard.
Well, I'm trying to think. There was a book. They were officers, though. There was a book that kind of told the story of a cadet going through like the academy and then being on a Star Destroyer and then all the, like there was, what was it called? I can't think of the name of it, but so those kind of stories, and they were really interesting, from that perspective of, because there was a lot of, if I remember correctly in that book, there was a lot of on some of the outerlying planets that there wasn't a lot of opportunity for work and things like that. So like you joined the academy,
right.
You like, that's what you did, because you wanted to get ahead in life. That was like the thing that, it wasn't that right. They were always hiring, basically or whatever. Right. So, and some people could become pilots, some people could become officers depending on your aptitude and things like that. And so, people joined up because they didn't have a lot of prospects on their planets anymore. Because free trade was kind of like, nope.
Non-existent.
Yeah.
There might be a situation when the Star Wars, everybody makes fun of stormtroopers and how bad their aim is. But like they've never really, in the whole entire any movie, really showed how strong or how good, how highly skilled a stormtrooper is. Ever.
Well, that's the thing, is they kind of weren't, because that's what makes the clones so interesting, is because the clones were trained and bred as soldiers, and they were like highly trained, and you had highly elite task force, and then you just had your really good soldiers, and you had all this kind of stuff. Their armor was better. They actually had battle strategies and things like that. And I think the thing with the stormtroopers was that they were just supposed to be effective in volume. Like there wasn't really, like their armor was flimsy, their weapons were not great. There was, it was because they were just, well, we have more of them than you. And that was kind of that strategy. I think that they weren't actually elite fighters. They weren't like, you had the Death Troopers, who were like an elite, SEAL team, kind of force. Then you had, some of those other things, but the regular white TK stormtroopers, I think were just supposed to be scary. I think they were just supposed to be exactly. Yeah. And that was it.
You have to take into consideration, though, it's when we see the stormtroopers, they're going against the epic heroes of the story, right? So it'd be like in a video game or in a role-playing game of some sort, right? It's like you can't compare kind of their skill level when you have basically the Mook, who is fighting like the major godlike hero of the series, right? So, I'm sure that they were able to terrorize the average.
If you were just a moisture farmer on Tatooine,
exactly,
and like a troop of stormtroopers came in and told you couldn't do something, you'd probably listen.
Exactly. So, I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. I just was looking at my notes from chapter 12. It's like one of the first things I've written down. It's because of the scene we see the Razor Crest chugging again.
The parts falling off.
I'm like, so
great.
I said, Razor Crest's having issues. Can we consider the Razor Crest as owning the title of hunk of junk in the galaxy now? Can we take that away from the Millennium Falcon and just give that trophy to the Razor Crest? Because I don't think Han had that much trouble.
No.
No, it was great. I loved the pieces falling off. That was perfect. It was so funny.
Hard to find good help in the galaxy sometimes, I guess. Especially
well, but yeah, and well, now it's fixed, but there's a tracker. Da da da.
Yes.
So of course, they get to the planet, they meet Grief and Cara Dune, and they've cleaned up the town, the scummy town, and she's the marshal, which is cool, and he's like the governor or mayor of the town or whatever. He's cleaned it up, like the bounty hunter den is now a school for children, and it's really cool. And the one thing I thought I noticed, and when I look back, I'll show this picture here and see if you can notice anything in the background that looks interesting.
That's a statue to Iggy.
That's right.
Oh, look at that.
I didn't see that before.
I didn't either. Oh, he's a hero. Oh,
he's the hero. Someone had said that they actually are using his real body. He's destroyed, but I don't know if it's his original or not. But I thought that was pretty cool.
That is awesome.
And it's just that whole small details that Favreau and Filoni and all these people, it's like so amazing about this episode or this show.
So, okay, if the show's so amazing, one thing I don't understand, I haven't went back and watched the show since all this stuff leaked. Well, this crew member in the background, the arm sticking out of the watch.
The guy with the jeans. The jeans and the watch.
Is this true? Is that the hottest toy for me this Christmas?
No, they're not. It's not going to be. That's.
I know. I was kidding. I sent Steve a posting that somebody put in a box and made it into an action figure, the crew member or something like that.
No, when we start doing cons again, like when conventions start back up, there's totally going to be like guys walking around with a board in front of them with just their arm and wristwatch sticking out. That's totally going to be a thing.
This one makes no sense to me. They have this show. They're spending money. They have TIE fighters and they have speeder bikes and they have explosions. They have Jawas. They have frog creatures, but they didn't digitally remove the guy. Makes no sense to me.
I actually, when I watched it, I don't know if it's just the settings on my TV, I couldn't really see him. It was really dark. So you actually have to freeze it and you have to lighten it and enhance it to be able to see him. So, that.
But the official pictures, because the actual official Lucasfilm, they kind of released 4 or 5 images when the episode came out. That was one of them. And I wish I would have saved it here because I didn't notice it when I was first looking at them and sharing them. And I was like, wait a minute. When people started talking about it, it was like not enhanced. Like people have enhanced them a lot more. But the regular picture that they didn't see, that they released to all like the press sites and whatever. Yeah. That was it.
Wow, how did they miss it there in that? Yeah.
And the director, right, Carl Weathers, people are giving him a little bit of hassle, like, haha, I can't believe you missed that, like, blah, blah. And he's taking it all with great assault. Game of Thrones
missed a Starbucks cup. Like, come on, you're one of your highest, costing shows of all time, HBO, and they left Starbucks on the table, like, in a scene,
I know. It happens, but he's taking it in great stride. Like, he doesn't seem embarrassed. And I think he did an awesome job at this episode, right?
It was. I thought it was one of the better ones. The ending really got to me. And that's really, I'm a big thing about endings, and I thought, I did think, I thought the pacing was off in the beginning. I don't know why. It just felt clunky. I don't know. Right. I really didn't like the fish guy coming with him. I thought he was there for comic relief, but I didn't care for him too much. I thought he just kind of slowed it down. This is my personal opinion, but again, it wasn't. It ended up being one of my favorite episodes when I hit the halfway point.
Right.
I don't know why.
There's another note that I have all in caps here to myself. When they're in the Imperial base trying to kind of turn off the kind of make it so that the cooling system so that the volcano, all the lava keeps going out. First thing I thought of is there any such thing as guardrails in the entire Star Wars universe?
There's no. Do you guys have OSHA in Canada? The
OSHA.
OSHA. It's like our, what does it stand for? Something occupational hazard safety thing. Like there
We
in the
have-
US, we have like a oversight,
Yeah.
group or whatever.
Ours
Like
is WCB.
okay, so yeah,
WCB, yeah.
Star Wars doesn't
Compensation
have
Board.
that.
No, they don't.
It's so funny because here down below in this pit is all the lava that they're watching. No rails, little walkway. Even where the controls are, they have to walk around this kind of edge where one person can fit. Guardrails. It's crazy. Plus, I'm afraid of heights, and it was just there was no way I could work for the Empire, even if I was that kind of guy.
See, I think if you're an employee of the Empire, you're probably going, you know what? We seem very expendable around here. You know what I'm saying? Like they probably don't have that in their promotional material. Join the Empire, where you can be expendable because they really cut corners a lot. So it looks like couldn't they make the ramp a little bit like a foot longer, right? Like the railing around, like the walkway. But yeah, it's unfortunately the fish guy was a little bit chubby, so I'm sure it was hard for him. Whatever. Even back in the day when Obi-Wan was turning off the tractor beam, right? There was no guardrail there either.
There was no guardrails, nothing. So it just makes it's kind of what I tell people when they kind of question capes or cloaks or in an advanced society. It's like that's the style or the trend or things that they're used to, right? It's like us wearing a piece of material around our neck and pushing up our collar. Some cultures might think a tie is really stupid, or railings is not necessary because it weeds out dumb people, I guess.
Well, I think another thing we're forgetting too is, remember, this happened a long time ago. And so if you look at like a lot of architecture from a long time ago, there wasn't a lot of safety rails around. I don't think there were.
Maybe
is that what's wrong with the world? We should have just removed all the safety labels and
now
let it sort itself out.
We're getting too complacent now. We rely on these little things that protect us.
Let's take away the safeties now.
Yeah, take away the seatbelts. Come on,
get the Empire going.
Who needs airbags?
I've noticed with just kind of the little Easter eggs or this or that they've been putting in to make fans go, oh my God, that's so cool. I swear, during the episode, I forget who said it. I think it was one of the stormtroopers said, there they are, blast them. It's like they're recycling lines from the movies, which I think is really cool.
It was a different voice, though. They didn't use the same clip.
It was a different voice.
But what else would they say? They have blasters. Movie. I think it's a general term for them. Hey, look at that! It's a squirrel. Blast it! I think that's what they do. They blast everything.
It just hit that kind of
nostalgia
memory.
Nerve.
Yeah.
In my brain, it was like, wow, A New Hope. This is what it came from, and it made me think of it right away. Is blast them. It's like them using. I got a bad feeling about this in things since the original Star Wars films.
Yeah.
Right. It's
it definitely hits that. It definitely hits that muscle memory thing, right? When you hear that sort of thing, you're like, "Oh, they said it again." To me, it just makes total sense. They're the blunt hammer going in and blast it, right? That's their answer. What is a stormtrooper's solution for everything? Right? You play Battlefront. I don't know if you guys ever played Battlefront before. Battlefront, it's the same thing. Look, blast it. It's
the term.
But I agree with you 100%. When they say it, I have a big smile on my face. Like it's like, oh, here we go, right? That's the big thing for me. It's like, here we go. I love one of my favorite things when I was 5 years old watching Star Wars was all the gunfights, right? Like the blaster fights, just like the blasters, lasers, beams going everywhere, explosions, stormtroopers getting hit, falling down. It just takes me back to 5 years old. I sit there and here we go. That's how I feel. That's awesome.
So what about the action, guys? Like, some of the like the Razor Crest fight against the TIE fighters, I thought that was really well done. It looks so good. I heard one person describe it as it's something that only Star Wars can do. Like, people might complain about missing a script or a detail or this, but when it comes to action and excitement, Star Wars is where it's at.
Yeah.
You know, I compare it. You're right, Steve. Like you compare it to, you know, a New Hope when they're going down the trench of the Death Star. How exciting that was, right? Empire Strikes Back was the asteroid field. You know, Return of the Jedi, it's the speeder bikes through the forest, right? And this, you're down this little this crater, and you're being chased by speeder bikes, and then just cap it off. Let's have some TIE fighters now, right? It was on the edge of your seat kind of thrill ride. It was like you're saying, they do it better than anybody, really.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't George Lucas like a huge fan of dogfights? Didn't it, like the airplane? Didn't he make a movie about the
Midway? I think he did.
the
Yeah.
666 division, or not? No, the 222nd division. Who is it? Something. There's like something he did. Wasn't that like one of George Lucas's other things? Like he's really into dogfights, and
he's into dogfights and like car racing and stuff like that. He likes speed.
So but shooting that kind of style of that like aerial combat.
I'll try and find that movie for you. I know which one you're talking about.
444. I don't know. It's like three of the same numbers.
Is it? I thought
or 442. Is it 442? Something like that.
Let me try and find it for you. You guys keep talking while I try and find it for you.
But I think that was another George Lucas thing or something like that, because that was like he enjoys that. But
Red Tails. The movie is called Red Tails.
Red
Tails. Executive producer in 2012. And it's all about the Midway, the World War II planes, and the big, huge aerial dogfight sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's part of like why those kind of things were brought into the Star Wars universe too, because that's something he personally enjoyed and wanted to see. So like that style of aerial combat in space, you know, with spaceships, it has that kind of excitement, I think. But.
Absolutely.
I think it's the 442nd Division or something like that about the Red Tails.
I have it right here, Jen.
Okay. Because I think that's why they named Ahsoka's clones that, because it was like a callback to George Lucas's love of that, I think. I might just be tired.
This is just talking about the 1944. It was an Afro-American pilots.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't say
their division name.
It doesn't say. I'm sorry. In the write up here, it doesn't say anything about their division in the write up. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Let's see if I can find it while you guys talk.
Yeah, but we have a viewer comments are making by the name of American Nordic. He says he's so happy to see so much of the Clone Wars being used as much as they have been, kind of in all of this.
So, Steve, have you watched all the Clone Wars now? Have you watched every episode?
I have not. And I even got lazy where I found someone to put out a list of all the important episodes from each season. So instead of watching all of it, just ding, 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 there's like 20 episodes or something. And that should be enough for you to kind of, you know, all the important parts of the Clone Wars.
Get rid of the fillers.
And I didn't even do that. I watched like 4 episodes and then I just kind of fell away from it. But I did watch all of Star Wars Rebels. Does that count?
Rebels is good, but Rebels is no Clone Wars.
All I know is every episode I've watched of Clone Wars, I really, really like it. But just, I guess I look at it, it's like 7 seasons, or it's a big long haul. So you strap in and get ready to go.
It does have some times that it's not nearly as exciting. It does have some dips and things like that. But overall, you're not going to get those stories of the interactions between different planets and the different things that were going on in the larger universe from anywhere but Clone Wars, which is really cool. And like I have said this a million times, but I will say it 1,001 times. The background of Order 66. And what that actually meant, that the clones didn't actually turn on their Jedis, that they loved their Jedis. It was a chip that was implanted.
Right.
And like that, knowing that makes those scenes, like because like when Commander Cody like turns on Obi-Wan, it's heartbreaking because Cody and Obi-Wan are incredibly close. Like they've been through so many battles together. They are like brothers. And when that happens, you're like, oh my God, Cody, you know, like, but then once you watch Clone Wars and you see like what that meant, and, you know, and they talk about that some in Rebels, like, you know, Rex survives and like that survivor's guilt that they kind of have of like, they knew what they did and they couldn't stop it. And they had this like, you know, the clones couldn't live with themselves kind of thing, like of knowing what they, and that just Clone Wars takes that scene from the prequels and just makes it, you know, rip your heart out. It's just so much more impactful once you know this whole background story of how the clones were completely powerless. It's heartbreaking.
I gotta see this.
Right.
It's so good. Oh my gosh.
I guess you're painting as a huge emotional turmoil story, right?
It is.
Because every
it's
episode you
heartbreaking.
watch, that's one thing you watch the Clone Wars, the movies, and then you watch Revenge of the Sith, and this turned like the movie doesn't do it justice, right? Where you're watching the Clone Wars movie, I'm going the TV show, I'm going, okay, how do they actually turn on them? But now it makes perfect sense.
It's just the episode, I can't remember what it's called. It's later in this series. And it's actually, I think it's a two-parter. But they go to, there's a clone that malfunctions basically. And one of the clones takes him to Camino and was like, where the clones are, was like, what's wrong, and trying to figure out, in the whole thing, and then finding out, and they come so close to exposing it. They come like within seconds of exposing it to the Jedi, and then it's snatched away. And like it's just so it's so good.
Someone had told me that the Clone Wars series is perfect. It had actually fixed the prequels for them and fills in a lot of story and holes.
It fills in the Obi-Wan Anakin dynamic. Because you see them in the situations where they have to trust each other. You see there's all sorts of times when Anakin does something bad and Obi-Wan turns his back on it because it's his friend, it's his brother. And so there's all these little tiny things that happen where Anakin kills somebody that he probably shouldn't have, like in a moment or whatever, like somebody that could have been captured as a war prisoner or something like that. And Anakin's just like, just whatever. And Obi-Wan's like, Anakin again, kind of thing. Like he doesn't really Anakin. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, there's these moments where Obi-Wan knows, and it makes that so much heavier going into Revenge of the Sith too, of like, he knows he's partially responsible because this monster's been growing for a long time, and like everything that led up to that point of Anakin seeing that the only way to end the war was to kill all the separatists and to kill all the Jedi, and that's going to end the war, but what leads up to that, there's a lot of episodes about that, of those little seeds that get planted in him, of and Obi-Wan not being the mentor he should be in some circumstances and things like that. It's really good.
Right.
So this conversation is really making me excited about the Obi-Wan series that's coming out now. Because
I'll get excited when I see it. I've been excited about it like 8 times, and then it gets delayed.
Exactly.
Just what you're saying though, that just, again, that's so much after emotion, regret, so much stuff emotionally you have to deal with after what happens at Revenge of the Sith, right? Like this, and is him like, that's amazing. Like that just sounds like it was so good.
I think there's so much story to tell there. I think that's probably, it helps to explain why he's so driven to help Luke, why he's so driven to save Luke, those kind of things, because of that guilt of I was a mentor to somebody that I failed, and I think that really that's part of that motivation of why he stayed on a desert sandy planet in exile, kind of was because he felt that responsibility.
It's kind of the failure. And I think I've had this conversation with someone a long time ago about when they were training. Sorry, this is going into the original trilogy. When Yoda's training Luke and Obi-Wan has his say as the Obi-Wan ghost, and when Luke was taken off to go in Empire Strikes Back to save his friends, they're like, no, you can't. You have to train to fight Vader, blah, blah, blah. It seemed like kind of they were acting like failed generals who wanted to get back into the win column. And, they were like, you have to kill Vader. And Luke's like, I can't kill my father. I know that there's some good in him. And they're like, well, we failed then. You need to kill him. You need to kill him. And it was Luke kept saying, nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. He knew he had to face him. But it seemed like even at certain points, it seemed like Yoda lost the way to what the Jedi were supposed to be. And, that arrogance of being angry over their defeat and they can get revenge if Luke would just go kill Darth Vader.
Well,
and
and
he
then
didn't.
that's also Obi-Wan's failure too, because Obi-Wan could have killed him and he doesn't. He leaves him alive. And that's part of, there's that guilt too of that, I didn't finish this. I didn't kill him. I didn't, and so that's why you have to do that, because that was the thing I should have done. And so that's why you have to do it.
Well, that was the whole, I had a chance to kill Hitler and I didn't. And it's Darth Vader didn't. I mean, he went on to do crazy things. And that scene in Revenge of the Sith, I always laugh at that one scene,
that part?
when Anakin's, arms and legs cut off and he's like, and he's burning. And he's like, I hate you. And Obi-Wan's like, you were the chosen one. You're my brother. I loved you. Okay, see you later. I'm gonna let you burn to death. And he leaves. It just kind of kills me. Instead of finishing him off, he just is. It would hurt too much to kill him.
I don't think he could. Yeah,
but he's gonna let him burn slowly to death.
Well, remember he argues. Was it with Yoda? Who's he argue with? He says like, "Not me. Don't send me." That kind of thing. Like he has that conversation of like, "I can't. I won't be able to do it." Basically,
Yeah.
And but with yeah,
he did kill the younglings too, right? So
Anakin did, yes.
Yeah, Anakin. That's what I'm saying. So like,
Well, that's the scene of Obi-Wan watching Anakin killing the younglings was just as heartbreaking. Like, because you see that realization of like, oh no, like
I failed.
This is exactly of like it's
what everybody said or were hinting at.
Yeah,
come true.
But it's kind of like just shows that the Jedi are, obviously we all know this, that they're just human, that they're not these perfect creatures where, Obi-Wan was kind of letting things slide, or couldn't do certain things when he should have been doing it. So they kind of became this do as I say, not as we do, right? They just, I think that they become really lost. And you've pointed this out so many times that their mistake was when they started leading forces
when they took military titles. Military titles. That was, I think I wrote an article on it years ago of how strongly I felt about it.
It's true. It's true.
But that was the whole idea. This is like a hotly debated topic on the internet. A lot of people hate, it. But the idea that bringing balance to the Force did mean killing all the Jedi. Like, because they had gone so far out of whack and so far out of what balance actually was, that actually by killing all the Jedi he did bring balance to the Force. Like there's it's one of those, like, I know people hate it and it doesn't taste good. It's one of those like I don't like it.
I swear I remember Yoda making a comment to Obi-Wan, and it was episode 2.
A prophecy misread could have been, or something like that.
He made a comment about the arrogance of young Jedi or something. Some kind of thing. They were walking in the hallway and Yoda was in his floaty thing at that point. And he made some comment about, it was a sarcastic comment as in a response to something Obi-Wan said. And I remember writing it down a long time ago, because I thought, wow, even Yoda could see that maybe the Jedi were swaying so much into this kind of an arrogance, like, even calling themselves general this and general that. It's like, why are you generals? Why are you fighting wars? Well, wars that you don't need to fight.
Well, that's another interesting thing really quick about Clone Wars too, is that how some of the Jedis took that title. There is a really interesting couple episodes where the Republic is laying siege to this planet, and there's one Jedi who treats his clones as straight up disposable. Like he sends them in like in waves to be slaughtered to serve his purpose. And like the clones are like not used to that, kind of thing. But some Jedi like it fully embrace the role of I'm a general and I'll do whatever it takes to win. And then there's this really beautiful contrast with Yoda, when a clone says to him something about we're clones, we're disposable. And he says, not to me, or, to me, you aren't, or whatever, because it's Yoda. But but he says something about like, you're all different in the Force, you know, like, so he sees them all because they do have little different personalities, even though they're clones and stuff. And he sees them as people. But some of the Jedi straight up went full military. Like, you guys are my infantrymen. Like, you guys go get blown up by cannon so I can go do this other thing. Like, and that there were Jedis that did that. And I can't remember his name. He was really not nice. But it's in the Clone Wars.
Someone in the comments, Nordic, said the quote that I was looking for, that Yoda says back to Obi-Wan, because I think he was talking about the arrogance of Anakin about his power. And Yoda says, a trait in many young Jedi now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He does.
So, but speaking of spin-offs in the Obi-Wan, do you think we could get a Cara Dune spin-off? You know,
That'd be cool.
Marshall, she's a marshal, but she'd be a marshal because at the end of the episode, when she's talking to the X-Wing pilot again, who turns out his name is Captain Carson Teva, and they have that conversation. Like, he's basically trying to tell Cara Dune that you can do better. You can get out of this place because we need help. You're really good at what you do. And then he leaves that kind of badge behind.
Mm-hmm.
And someone had pointed out online in the episode called The Marshal, on his belt buckle, it had these markings that show that he was a marshal. Cara Dune's wearing a buckle with similar markings, but it's for where she is. Mm-hmm. And in the one that this X-Wing pilot puts down, it's got the New Republic logo with Marshall. So he's basically offering her to come on board, and she's thinking about it. That'd be a good series, right? I love the whole Marshall shtick.
Yeah, that's fun. She's great. She's fantastic.
She's great. And that X-Wing pilot returned for the episode. Maybe Canadians would know who this is more, but he's the star of Kim's Convenience.
Great show. If you haven't seen it, Jen, you should look it up. Kim's Convenience. So good.
You have to watch that. Okay. His name is Paul Sun Young Lee. Yeah. And he is awesome. And I think I posted this on the Facebook page. He did a CBC interview over the weekend. It's like 5 minutes that they have in this video. It's like Canadian broadcasting, up here. He did an interview, and he's basically in a table with Star Wars toys behind him. He is a massive, he's a
501st member.
He's a 501st member. He tells how he got into the episode. The first one, there was some kind of casting director or something in Toronto, and he ran into her, and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing in town?" And she says, "Oh, we're doing work for the Mandalorian." And he's like, "Oh my God." And he's like, "Really? Like, I think he says, I'd do anything to get on that." And she goes, "Well, actually, Dave Filoni is a huge Kim's Convenience fan, and he's actually got a part for you."
Oh, wow.
And he says, people say that all the time in Hollywood. "Oh, we got a part for you and you can't take it." But he's like, I got really dark and in her face, and it's like, are you really serious? Because, I have 7 costumes right now, and I'm working on more that are like this and that. So he shows her his pictures in his phone of all these costumes, and she's like, "Wow, text these to me." So she texts it to Dave Filoni. Filoni goes, "Yeah, that's great. Just tell him to wear this one." And
even
that's his. What you see him? That's
pilot.
His.
No way.
Yeah, that's his.
I love it so much.
And because of the standards, right, that these groups have, it's going to be screen ready. Yeah, it's perfect. He even got to wear Biggs's helmet, original helmet. He said in one of the stories to the CBC guy, he got to pull out and had the name, Biggs. Blah, blah, blah. You got to wear that. And so Dave Filoni's a huge fan of the show, wrote that for him. And I was excited to see him in this episode because I'm such a fan of the guy. And, I think it's kind of cool, not to mention when he's talking about his fandom. And have you ever talked to someone that's so passionate about what they're talking about that you can see in their eyes it's getting a little misty? That's that's what happened to him twice in that interview, where he's talking about the fandom and this and that, and seeing A New Hope for the first time when he was 5 in theaters and things like that. It's been a huge part of his life. And, you know, his social media is him in his backyard wearing different outfits. And
I can only imagine what he's feeling to be on set and then see himself in the Star Wars universe. Like, it's got to be just surreal, right? Like,
it would be such a dream, dude.
I just know, like, even like me seeing him on camera, like, it's Kim Convenience guy, you know, like that's so overwhelming. But actually, for him to be taken part, like, you know, it's like they offer you a part, Steve, as a Wookiee. You know, I mean, how awesome would that be?
If you know what I would love, I would settle for being one of the lowlives in the bounty hunter den, or even like X-wing pilot in the background. You know, it doesn't say anything, just gets instructions, and we're like, yeah, no lines, just to be there. Just if you could see me for like 10 seconds on the screen, that'd be awesome.
I think you would fit into the scum and villainy part, no problem. Some back
Way
in the
better.
cantina. Actually, and I totally forgot how the beginning of the scene of episode 12 had the Walrus men, the Walrus people.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Like, I was like, again, like anytime I'm now waiting for a Hammerhead appearance. I want to see a Hammerhead. Remember Hammerhead?
Yeah. Has there been an Ithorian?
I have not. Is that what his race is called? A Thorian?
Ithorian or something?
I have no idea. I just know I would like to see a Hammerhead character move instead of just sit on the table, you know, like in A New Hope. It'd be nice to see one move.
Yeah, and you know, I think that they're getting to it subtly. Like, it would be one thing if they said, you know, if they did some kind of overdone stuff, like if they had like a cantina scene with every single race in the universe, and that'd be too much. And I like that they're being very, very subtle, like what Lucas was, at least in the original trilogy. I think I remember seeing an interview. It was like the making of The Empire Strikes Back. It was on TV back in the day, and pointing out that, you know, all these special effects scenes, they didn't leave the camera on it. It was filmed a matter of factly. It was so casually filmed, where it wasn't like leaving the camera on this monster doing stuff. It was just like, it would go by.
Yes.
You'd be like, whoa, wait, I want to see more of that. Well, no, because it just kind of added more to it, and how subtle he did everything. And I just think that Favreau is doing the same thing.
Well, he is, but he's also divulging more into these certain different races in the universe and showing more of them. Like, because these walrus people, or whatever. I don't know what race they are, but I know the figures are a walrus man, so I'm just going with the walrus men race. But you know, they were mean in A New Hope, and these guys were not very nice characters at all in this episode either, right? So it's kind of true to that little glimpse they had of him. And you know, there's always been like the episode 11 had all those squid head characters, right? And they were kind of bad guys too, right? So if I have a request, I'd like to see a Hammerhead.
That'd be pretty
whatever they are. Just see them moving. What does it look like when they move? Like, seeing IG-88, an Iggy character move, was kind of cool, because, you know, Empire Strikes Back, he just stands there, right? Here you saw him move and actually operate. How cool is that, right? Like,
that was amazing.
Now with technologies, you know, I just want to see. It'd be kind of cool to see these characters move and how they actually interact with other characters, because they can actually pull it off now with technology. That's okay. Then the snow, wouldn't it be cool to see Wampa? Come on, see a full-fledged Wampa moving? How awesome would that be?
They could do so much with the technology, which is why I'm hoping. I still, every once in a while, I tweet at Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, because they're totally going to see what I'm. Well, Filoni doesn't even go on social media much at all, but they need to bring Ewoks in somewhere.
Yes, I agree.
I don't care. I know it's controversial, right? It was
Here's the thing, Steve. Ahsoka Tano is on a forest planet. Did you catch that? It's the forest planet of something. Like, I don't remember the specific system or whatever.
Yeah.
But she says you might get them. I don't know. It's a forest planet. It's
a forest planet. I know. I heard that, but they didn't say, you know, the forest moon
Forest Moon of
Endor.
Endor is where your Ewoks are, but they specifically said forest, I think forest planet, not forest moon. But you know, if their natural habitat is forests, then
serious. And you know,
I'm calling it. There's going to be Ewoks.
Oh, if that happens, I am going to do my first backflip in my living room. I'll be so happy.
Well, just make sure you should take a selfie of it when you see it.
And I fully expect, you know, me posting stuff on the site's social media about how excited I am. And I'm fully prepared for all the Ewok haters to call me this, that, and the other thing. And
I don't know how can you hate Ewoks? I don't understand how you can hate Ewoks. I don't get it. Like,
people
what's the hate?
who hate puppies, right?
I
hate babies.
Fan, but
what do you think of Ewoks, Jen? To be honest,
when you said that, your eyebrows kind of raised, like kind of sarcastically.
I saw the Ewoks young and stuff like that. So like I had that, I like them, but I don't. They don't really do anything for me. They're just kind of there, and it's not like I don't think they're great.
You know, for me, when they kind of expanded a little bit in the comics on the Ewoks, like in I forget what the series was called, where they did all that kind of like, the confrontations between the Ewoks and the stormtroopers leading up to, the Return of the Jedi and stuff. Like kind of the Ewoks were curious of what the Empire was doing, and then when they first encountered them, the stormtroopers would shoot them anytime they did that they seen them. So then the Ewoks became like dark evil against them.
I was gonna say they tried to cook and eat, your heroes.
Exactly.
But they were hunting them in this comic. They were hunting stormtroopers down, and there were certain scenes where they would like be 3 stormtroopers, but one was separated a little bit, and this noose is coming down, and all of a sudden the stormtrooper is gone, and the stormtrooper is kind of talking in the scene, describing when they found TK whoever, what they did to him, and blah blah blah. And so they were basically getting revenge on these things.
They were cute and cuddly, but in the wild they're probably a little more ferocious, I'm sure. Like I said, they were going to eat our heroes in Return of the Jedi, right? So
I thought that was weird.
That's why I guess to me Ewoks were always kind of like, meh.
It would have made more sense. I think about that scene in Return of the Jedi.
They obviously.
No, instead of a banquet, they should have said something like, we're going to sacrifice them or something. It just seems so weird that they were going to eat them.
Well, and if you think about it too, like they obviously ate someone Leia's size at some point because they had clothes.
I know. It's so funny. But after Return of the Jedi, a lot of them did leave the planet, right? Like kind of went off an adventure. And
maybe
whatever.
They're on this planet with Ahsoka. Oh, man.
I just want to see an Ewok with a blaster flying kind of a, stock light freighter or some sort. X-Wing. Oh, man.
They can't reach the pedals. They can't reach the pedals.
Those gas pedals?
I don't know how airplanes work.
I'm pretty sure there's no gas pedals.
Or spaceships. I don't know. Can you steer with like your feet? I don't know.
Actually, I think the TIE fighters can. You guys ever see that? There's an animated thing, TIE fighter versus X-Wing. There's an animated somebody did. It was so cool. I think I shared it once with you, Steve. When I did an episode of Todd's Toys, I had little clips from it. This little animation of a TIE fighter. I think it's called TIE Fighters, and it was so cool. And actually showed the pilots getting into their cockpit and starting it up, and their foot pedals they had foot pedals for steering and stuff like that. And yeah, so it was kind of cool. So there you go.
Interesting.
I guess I believe those foot pedals. I don't know if it was for gas. I think it's more like
steering. Steering would make more sense.
Yeah.
All right. So chapter 12, your favorite part.
Speeder bikes going down the mountainside and crashing and wiping out. Just when I saw speeder bikes, that was like, whoa, here we go. I thought that was my favorite part. Speeder bikes, the chase scene was awesome.
Yeah, same. The canyon chase scene was my favorite. It was awesome.
And now
it's kind of hard to.
That little ship they were driving, I can't remember what it's called. It was called a Renegade. Not Renegade. What was it called? The little.
I forget, but it was kind of like
that was a toy.
Yeah,
that was a toy back in the day, Steve. Back in the 80s. I never got it because I didn't see the point of it. It didn't fly, so I never get it. But yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, they've done a re-release on it. I was actually at EB Games the other day, and they had one in stock. I was actually at Toys R Us too, and they had a few in stock. You know, American listeners, Toys R Us.
You don't have Toys R Us anymore? We do.
Oh no, they
Toys R Us.
died.
You guys,
That's
you guys
sad.
don't. We do. Okay, gotcha.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to do? Because every once in a while they play this. You know, they have music playing, but then they do that Toys R Us commercial with the song, which was. I'm trying to catch it while I'm there and film myself
I wish
dancing
I
and
was a
singing
Toys
along
R
with
Us
it.
kid. Or whatever.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah.
yeah.
Because I remember I posted a picture of the catalog that came in the other day, and what some of my American friends said to me on social media. I'm not going to repeat here, but it's like death. But hey, good news is Toys R Us is coming back to the U.S. It is rumored because now they're not in bankruptcy anymore, and they kind of use the bankruptcy to kind of save money and not have to pay creditors back, apparently. So it's going to come back in a couple of years, I guess, for you guys.
Hey.
Yeah. Anyways, the toy is there, and I forget what they call the series, but it's through the Mandalorian.
Okay.
So it's really cool.
Very cool.
But anyways, guys,
What was your favorite part,
I
Steve?
think we
You
should
say what
wrap-
your favorite part was. What was your favorite part?
Yeah.
You asked us. We said the speeder and the chase scene. What was your favorite part?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sorry, what was your favorite part? You asked us. What's your favorite part?
I kind of said that. I said, you know, mine would be that scene. It's kind of hard to not have a really epic battle or chase or fight scene as your favorite scene, other than seeing, you know, the actor from Kim's Convenient back on the show trying to recruit Cara Dune into the New Republic. So I thought it was kind of cool because, I mean, he's so different. You see him, he's just talking normal. Kim's Convenient. You know, he's playing like a older Korean man with thick accent, Korean accent and stuff like that. And he's really funny and comical. So it's like, it's so funny seeing, and I knew he didn't talk, but it's just kind of funny seeing him.
It is weird seeing him in a serious role, right? Like, again, Jen, you don't have that.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Like, you see, I've been watching him. He's been 4 years on the show, and he's very, very funny and very when he speaks broken English on the show because that's his character. He's an immigrant from Korea, so it makes sense. But when you hear him speaking normal, and oh wow, like it's super serious and just it's a different take on him for sure.
Very cool.
All right. So I think we should wrap it up there. I think my cold medication is wearing off, and I'm going to start coughing up a lung and looking more high or something, as my daughters say. It's not Corona. It's not COVID.
Says you.
It's just a normal, everyday cold.
My ears are itchy now. Why are my ears itchy, Steve?
Great. Now they're going to ban me. All right.
I think my computer's got your virus now. Oh no, my computer.
Shut it down.
Control, delete, control.
Stupid Canadian virus. All right, guys. So before we go, I just wanted to remind everyone that you can check us out on social media. We're trying to get the YouTube channel, you know, with more videos and podcasts. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So until next time, thanks for joining us, everyone in the chat and everyone who's going to watch us the millions later. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. May the Force be with you.
Bye-bye.